Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Majo, and in today's video I am going to explain how to become an educational psychologist. This also to hold myself accountable as I aim to become one in the future, and also to share with you a bit of insights as to why am I even wanting to pursue this career goal in the first place. If you've been here for a while, you know that I didn't study a bachelor's in psychology. I am mostly a career changer myself, so I hope this inspires people out there thinking about changing sectors and wondering if you can do this, and it's never too late really. And although this type of career psychology and being an educational psychology precisely takes a bit of time, years, it's worth it at the end, and it's not about the end result. I know this sounds a bit cliche. It's mostly about the process, enjoying it, and actually reminding yourself why are you even doing this in the first place. So stick around until the end of the video, where I'm going to share my personal decision process of how I decided to become one, and the first part will be mostly about informational type of video, how to become one, what are the essential requirements, etc. So let's get into it. So what is an educational psychologist? I decided to start with this because not all of us are aware. Actually, I just found out about this type of career just 2.5 years ago. Educational psychology is the application of psychological theory, research, and techniques in order to support children, young people, their families, their schools, and pretty much everything surrounding them in order to promote the emotional and social well-being of these children and young people. Educational psychologists, also known as EPs, support children and young people, especially those with learning difficulties. This is pretty important because EPs actually concentrate more on children and young people who are struggling, who are experiencing difficulties in their school years, and usually these are the ones who have special educational needs. So they make sure that these children and young people achieve their full potential. And how do they do this? They do this through assessments, they do this through monitoring, and they do this through evaluation. So EPs usually work with children and young people, again, between the ages of 0 to 25 years old, experiencing some kind of difficulties in their school years or in their college years or some other environment in which they are struggling in some way. You can say that EPs pretty much promote the learning in children and young people by developing their emotional, behavioral, and social skills while pretty much supporting their whole psychological development. As you can see, EPs work in consultation with parents, teachers, social workers, doctors, education officers, and other people involved in the education and care of children and young people. I know you've heard me say a lot about the word children and young people, but pretty much that is the main focus of educational psychologists. Now let's get into the other point, which are what are the essential requirements in order to become a qualified educational psychologist and be able to do all of these things that I've mentioned. So it will vary between country to country. That means the essential requirements to become an EP in the UK may not be the same essential requirements to become an EP in some country of Latin America or in another country here in Europe. So in order to become an EP in the UK, you must have undergone appropriate training and qualifications that are recognized by the Healthcare Professions Council, which is the HCPC, as demonstrating your competence and fitness to practice as a qualified educational psychologist in the UK. So EPs who offer a service to the public are actually required by the law to be registered with the HCPC, which is the statutory regulator for all practitioner psychologists in the UK. Yes, that means that HCPC registration is also a requirement for those who want to practice as clinical psychologists, forensic psychologists, and occupational psychologists, and actually other types of practitioner psychologists are as well required to be registered with the HCPC. If you want to really dig into what are the requirements in order to gain this registration with the HCPC, I encourage you to check the HCPC official website. But for the purpose of this video, I am going to continue on what are the exact training and what are the exact qualifications that you need in order to actually be registered with the HCPC to practice as an educational psychologist in the UK. The training that they are referring to when they say you need a training, they mean the 3-year postgraduate training program that includes a doctorate qualification. The first year of this training will be mostly university based, while the second and third year trainees spend between 3 and 4 days per week on practice-based placement with a local authority educational psychology service or other approved provider of educational psychology services alongside their studies. And currently, as of 2024, there are only 13 universities in the whole of England that offer these doctorate training courses in educational psychology. And who actually manages the recruitment process? The Association of Educational Psychologists manages all the recruitment process for all the courses in England, which are actually eligible for government funding. So what do I actually need in order to be accepted by the AEP for this doctoral training? So to be accepted, you need a first degree, that is a BA or a BSc or an equivalent qualification in psychology, which has been accredited or is recognized by the British Psychological Society, that is the BPS, as giving eligibility for the graduate basis for chartered membership of the BPS, that is GVC. I know there are so many acronyms, but in short, you just need a first degree, a BA or a BSc in psychology that is accredited by the BPS. So if you don't have a first degree in psychology, if you haven't studied an undergrad in psychology, you can take a conversion course or a conversion master's, which I actually have a video, all of my experience studying a conversion master, so you can check that out. But it is not mandatory for you to do a bachelor's in order to get that prerequisite into your doctoral training. You can actually do a conversion master's of 1 year full-time or 2 years part-time, but this has to be accredited by the British Psychological Society, like I said. This will give you this stepping stone that you need in order to pursue your further studies if you wish to become a practitioner psychologist. So if you want, again, more information and the official information actually on which other accredited psychology degrees and which other conversion courses that actually counts toward this further training, then you can visit the BPS official website. Now, in addition to this bachelor's or conversion course that you need in order to pursue your doctoral training, that is in addition of the academics qualification, you also need 1 year of full-time work experience working with children and young people if you want to actually get a chance into being accepted in the doctorate training of educational psychology. And this working with children and young people is ideally in an education, health, social care, or child care setting. So yes, that is the reason, if you've been following my other videos or my Instagram page, in which I decided to be a teaching assistant for a whole year whilst I was doing my conversion masters. I was trying to gain more experience with children in order to pursue a further study in the future to become an EP. And now I'm actually working with adolescents with complex barriers, so that actually gives me even more experience on top of that in order to again be more prepared into getting accepted into this further training. Of course, they say minimum 1 year full-time. So obviously you can have more than 1 year. Actually, it would be best if you have more than 1 year full-time experience. You can try and apply after just 1 year of full-time experience with children and young people, but perhaps it could be best if you can gain a bit of more expertise and actually figuring out if you actually want to pursue this 3-year further training, or if you perhaps want to just stay into this role of helping children and young people, but not necessarily being a practitioner psychologist, which is perfectly valid. So that is it with all the essential requirements. That is it with all the definition of what is an EP. Now I'm going to talk about my personal experience, although I pretty much mentioned bits of it when I was explaining. But I just want to say that it's not really about the end result. I know I said it at the beginning, I will repeat it. It's mostly about this process. In my case, it's mostly about enjoying my work right now. So yes, I already finished my conversion course or my conversion master's, which was accredited by the VPS. And I am now in the stage of getting work experience with children and young people with learning difficulties. So I am working in a charity with adolescents and young adults with complex barriers such as ADHD, autism, and on other barriers that are not allowing them to pursue sustainable employment. And I am coaching them, supporting them into getting that desired role. So it is not an easy role. It requires a lot of patience. It requires a lot of empathy, but it is actually a confirmation that this route is actually the route that I am good at doing. And it gives me motivation into what the bigger picture for me will be, which is this, like the qualification of being an EP. But I still have so many things that I have not in my head yet figured out. Like, for example, if I want to pursue the 3-year training in the UK, or if I want to pursue this further training in another country. So even though we might not know exactly what the future will be, I just know that I love working with children and young people. I just know that I have the soft skills that really make a good match with this type of role. So I'm just going to be confident that whatever turns out at the end will be the best for me. If I end up pursuing this further training not in the UK but in another country, then so be it. I guess what I'm trying to say is that whatever goal you might have, it might not be the same as mine. It might not be becoming an educational psychologist, because maybe that's a bit niche. It might be any other career goal or any personal goal for that takes more than 1 year to achieve, which in this case my goal takes 3+ years to achieve. Then instead of thinking of the 3+ years that I have left, think about what you can do today. What can you do up in the next 3 months? I don't know where did I read this, but they say that you shouldn't concentrate so much about the huge bigger picture about your life plan, because chances are it's not going to be exactly like that. Just focus on the next 3 months. What can you do today, and what can you do in the next 3 months that will get you a bit closer to that goal? So let's see, in my case, what can I do today and in the next 3 months? I guess just stay obviously in my current role, continue helping these adolescents with complex barriers, perhaps attending a networking event with either aspiring educational psychologists like I am or qualified educational psychologists, perhaps messaging some qualified educational psychologists on LinkedIn and asking them if they have time to have a quick chat with me in order for me to get a better understanding of what they do. Actually, I already did this last year, but maybe I can do it a bit more in this next 3 months. Just networking and maybe just asking my current manager if they have like a course that I can take in order to better help and better support my caseload, which are, like I said, people with complex barriers, which sometimes I don't really understand the details of their barriers because I am not trained into understanding all the bits of pieces. I am just an employment advisor at the moment, which means that I am just advising them on ways into getting into employment. But I wish in the future that I could really understand a bit more what is really holding them back. So perhaps raising my hand in the next week, in the next team meeting, and saying, is there a course that I can take? Or perhaps it's just time, that I just need more practice and more time to become really an expert. Of course, the training I think will be really, really helpful. Not only it will allow me to perhaps have my private practice, I don't know, but it will also allow me to feel maybe more knowledgeable as to what are these barriers that my current caseload or my future caseload will have. Perhaps other things that I can continue in this short term, in this next 3 months, that will bring me closer to my bigger goal will be to continue with this channel, because actually making videos for you, having my Instagram page actually keeps me motivated, because I get to connect with other aspiring psychologists or even other qualified psychologists in Instagram, in YouTube. They keep me motivated, they keep me on track, because there's actually a whole community, a great one actually, which I discovered when I created this platform, which I still consider I'm pretty new. I guess it helps me to keep myself accountable on my future goal of becoming a psychologist, but it also allows me to observe others that have already achieved perhaps what I want to achieve, and to just understand how their process was, not because of comparing myself with them, but just to get inspiration, because I know that my journey will be unique. I will follow my own steps and figure my own steps on the way. So I know at the beginning of the video I said I'm going to share my decision process of how or when did I decided that I wanted to pursue this goal of becoming a practitioner psychologist. Even though it's a video of how to become an educational psychologist, it is not really about the how. It is mostly about the what. What is it that you want to become? Is it an educational psychologist like I am aspiring to be? Then perfect. We share similar aspirations, but we don't have to. You can have your own bigger goals yourself, and actually understanding what are those bigger goals for yourself that you want to achieve doesn't always come easy. So if you've been watching some of my videos recently, I talk a lot about career change, and the reason I do this is because I am a career changer myself. It wasn't like I went into studying a bachelor's in psychology and then just followed the regular traditional route. I didn't do that because I actually didn't know what I wanted to do at 17 years old. So what I did was I studied business, very broad, very general, in Peru, and then I worked for 3 years in HR, in recruitment, and then I came to London. The reason that I decided to leave my job of HR and come to London and study a conversion course in psychology was because I spent a lot of time reflecting on what actually did I wanted to do. I realized I love what I was doing and I was pretty good at doing that, but it wasn't fulfilling enough for me to pursue this in the long term. So I decided to ask myself, then what is? Then if that is not fulfilling for me in the long term, then what is fulfilling for me in the long term? And the answer was supporting people, and especially supporting children and young people. That was the answer because I was already doing some voluntary work around that time, and I was really willing to do that for free forever, I guess, and just keep my office job. I'm not saying this is a bad thing to do. I'm not saying that you should quit your office job and pursue your crazy dreams of becoming whatever you want to become. If that resonates with you, then go and do it. You should do what feels right to you. So I'm talking about what felt right for me. What felt right for me at that point was quitting my job, my office job of doing recruitment, and pursuing a totally different thing, working firstly in a nursery with children ages 2 to 5 years old, and then what I'm doing right now, which is working with Zen adolescents and young adults, helping them get employment. So you could say recruitment is sort of related because in recruitment, obviously I interviewed a lot of candidates, and that allowed me to gather these skills into my current role, allowing me to better support these adolescents and young adults looking for employment. But I didn't plan it like that. I didn't go into recruitment thinking, oh, I'm going to do recruitment because that will help me then support young adults with SANG needs into getting into employment. It wasn't planned. It couldn't be. So I guess I figured it out on the way, and I thought, what skills do I already have from my previous work experience that I can use in the here and now in my new career goals? And actually there's so many transferable skills that if you're thinking of changing sectors, you can use in your new pursuit roles. And actually this way of thinking, this way of finding a lot of options in your brain is the most healthy way to go about it, because goals can evolve. Goals can change. You first thought you wanted something, but then you realized you wanted another thing. Or it's like doing a business. You first make a draft, and it's not like you go out to the market and sell it exactly the way you thought about it as a draft in your head. You test it, you make some tweaks. It's exactly like that with goals. So at the end of the day, this draft that I'm referring to is your career. You shape it as you wish to. You create actually your own career path. You don't have to follow the traditional ways of doing it. You don't have to follow what others expect for you to follow. You have to follow what resonates with you the most. So if you're gonna take a message from all of this video, is that try things without thinking of the result. The result is the least important part of whatever goal you want to attain. You got this. And also I just want to thank my new subscribers. Like I said, I'm still new in the platform, but I am still thankful for the people that have pressed subscribe to my channel. That really encourages me to make more videos like this. And I hope you find this video inspiring and that it encouraged you to pursue your own version of success. I hope you have a great week ahead. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.